At Pepsi, my job was mainly to go sit in a truck every day, follow a particular route where you actually go to every shop to actually sell Pepsi. That was one. The second part of my sales career was at a company called Resonant Design, which was an advertising agency. So what I was selling was more services. In the first case, it was products. In the second case, it was more services. Man, I don't know why this keeps getting stuck. Yeah, I'll just skip. I don't know the presentation, why it's not working. I'll probably, is it okay if I run it from here?
Nimish, what you can do is we can just pause this. If you can mail it to me, I will run it for you, if that's okay with you.
It's a Google slide. So what I'll do is I'll just share it with you.
Yeah.
On what email ID should I share it?
Yeah, I'm just putting that on the chat.
Okay. And coincidentally, what has happened is, again, in the e-commerce space, the organizations that I currently run are in the design and healthcare space. So I run 4 different businesses. One of them is Housenama, and the other one is called Engrave Awards, where we make awards and trophies for companies across the world. Now, both of these are design-led businesses, in the sense that you don't have standard products. Each product is basically customized or personalized to a particular company's requirements or a house's requirements. And they're led, basically, people come to make a purchase because they like the design. So that's what I mean by design-led business. And the other 2 businesses, Hygiva and Solvlem, are both in the cosmetics and the cosmetic space, so to say. The cosmetics and healthcare space. We are treading the line between cosmetics and pharma. And coincidentally, when I look back at my journey, it seems to have completed a full circle, because I get a lot of design influence from my mother. She's been a fashion designer. And the cosmetics pharma thing comes from my father, because and my family, where we've spent years and years in the pharma business. Yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide. Himadri, you're running it.
You want me to get to the next slide?
How do I check which slide are you on? Yeah.
It should be there on the screen, actually.
Okay.
You'll have to go to the main screen of Zoom. You'll be able to check what slide we are on.
Okay, should I stop screen sharing here? Maybe then I'll... Okay. Yeah, so to put my phase again, to divide my career in 3 phases. The early part, when I was in Bombay and schooling in Bombay, it was more like the movie that you see on the screen here, where everything was good and fine. Just move on to yeah, then the beginning of my career was more like doing sales and just learning about business, just meeting people, interacting with them, and selling to customers. And just when you thought that, okay, right at the end of Rocket Singh, where he basically starts a business and you think that everything's now going to be great guns, the final part of it, the entrepreneurship part of it, was more like running into the Wild West. Yeah, Madhuri, you can, yeah. So the transition has not been as smooth or as easy as envisaged, where you start off and then your career keeps progressing. I think when you're running a business, it's more like a Wild West, where you're fighting different problems every day. Yeah, Madhuri, you can move on. Okay, but I still think starting my career in sales was absolutely the best decision that I made. Yeah, I've just listed down a few reasons why I think so. So one is, in sales, you learn a lot of soft skills, which are transferable at any stage of your career or to any industry, right? The 4 key skills that I really look at, which I learned from sales, one is negotiation. I think every sales professional basically becomes good at negotiations. The second thing is listening to customers. The next part is trust building, because no matter what you do, people only buy from people or brands that they actually trust, right? And a salesperson is probably the most important vehicle to communicate the trust to any customer. And the last part is relationship building. So while trust can get you a buy-in once, at the end of the day, you have to build a great relationship for continued business in the long term. The second reason I really think sales is a great place to start is it gives you a sense of fulfillment and pride, right? On one hand, you're basically offering customers a great solution, which is solving a problem for them. On internally, what is happening is you're validating the team's effort. There's a lot of effort that actually goes into building a product, right? Whether it's a software product or a real product. So when you actually sell that product in the market, you're actually validating a lot of the team's effort, right? Third, you're making the company's promoters happy because you're getting in revenue. And lastly, I mean, you're going to be loved by all your colleagues because at the end of the day, the sales team is what is helping people keep their jobs. Another great aspect about a sales career is the money, excitement, and adventure, right? I mean, no other function as such is so closely linked to performance. So yeah, I mean, it's if you're doing great at sales, there's a great opportunity for you to make a lot of money. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement and adventure in the journey as well. But I think the really key part of being in sales is you understand how to dissect a business, because ultimately, किसी business में क्या होता है? I mean, people are going to pay you for something, so you know exactly कि what is the business, ये धंधा क्या है, लोग किसके लिए पैसा दे रहे हैं, right? या फिर लोग किसके लिए क्यों हमको पैसा नहीं दे रहे, right? So you straight away are able to, so to say, just paint a very clear picture of what the business actually is. Also, a sales career is a great path to leadership. I mean, in all the organizations that I've worked, ultimately people who've moved up the ladder and taken top positions have experience in sales. So I think congratulations to everyone who's pursued this path. And another reason why I think it's a great decision for all of you is that you've decided to participate in the process of upskilling your career, right? A lot of people stagnate, but I think it's a great decision that all of you all have joined Juno School of Business and decided to upskill yourself. Yeah, Madhuri, you can move on. Okay, so I'll just give a short summary of what I learned at these different places. So in sales, in Pepsi, the first thing that I learned is that sales must be fun. You know, when I joined Pepsi, I thought, क्या है यार, रोज सुबह उठ के एक ट्रक में बैठना है, right? And you're selling the same sugared water to people every day. But when I actually joined the organization, it was completely different, right? It was just a riot, and it was really exciting. The way it was made actually fun is, say for example, when I'm sitting, I go ahead and sit in the truck as well. So every person who sits in the truck, we laid out a punching bag, okay, which was a red punching bag with a Coca-Cola logo on it. So everybody who works at Pepsi, before you get into the truck, you actually punch that bag and you actually kick that bag, and then you get into the truck. Then whenever there was a new launch, say for example, in 2000, when I actually joined this organization, we just launched Mountain Dew, right? Everybody would come dressed completely in, green, right? So we used to have green days where everything that the entire warehouse was actually painted green. All of us were wearing a special green uniform. So I think there are different ways. I think what we need to ensure is that whenever you're doing sales, you need to make it fun. I think sales is never boring. The second thing that I learned is enthusiasm and passion. As executives in Pepsi, all of us used to spot the Pepsi uniform every day, right? Whether it was a Sunday, we used to work on Sundays as well, but everybody used to spot the Pepsi uniform. And there's an instant connection when that happens. So even if I go to the market and find somebody else wearing a Pepsi uniform, right? There is a certain camaraderie that actually gets built just by people seeing you in that uniform, and somebody who's worked at Pepsi earlier. So the second thing, my second most important learning from Pepsi is that always create an environment of enthusiasm and passion. If you're going to work with colleagues who don't share the same enthusiasm and passion, I think probably you're in the wrong job. Sales you have to surround yourself with enthusiastic people. And the third thing that I learned in Pepsi is the entire organization at Pepsi was aligned to support the frontline team, which is to support the frontline sales force. So which meant that every month, at least once a month, we would find even the CEO or people from the accounts team going onto the route, right? So they would jump into a truck and spend the entire day with the route agent. We used to call the truck driver who actually sells on every route. He's called a route agent. They used to spend the entire day actually selling themselves. So what happens in such a scenario is, many times within an organization, we get lost in really petty things, right? कि ये हिसाब नहीं दिया, ये petty cash submit नहीं किया, ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हो, ये sales वाले हमेशा बहुत वो है. I think there is a certain compassion that gets built and understanding that gets built in terms of what the sales people are doing. How is this company actually making money, right? So in any organization, I think it's very important that everything is aligned towards finally driving sales and supporting the frontline sales team. Himadri, we can move on. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was my key learning from Pepsi. But the moment I decided to move to an ad agency, I realized how difficult things really were, right? At Pepsi, you had the brand supporting you. But when you work with a news ad agency, which has no brand in the market, you realize that the only way for you to actually succeed is to differentiate, right? If you're not going to be able to differentiate your offering, there's no reason why a customer should buy you, right? And so, yeah, differentiate or die was my key motto then. And I contributed usually towards making Resonant Design an agency which delivers designer digital experiences. Back then in 2004, 2005, very few people were actually offering this. And that was also my foray into how I understood the online space, right? And so, yeah, for any salesperson, it's important to understand, how do you differentiate your product? Many may have the benefit of actually working for a really large brand, but when you don't have that benefit, you really have to understand the product at its core and understand what makes you different, right? And or otherwise, you're not going to be able to survive. Okay. Moving to sales in a digital world. I mean, the early part, like I said, phase one was actually working at Pepsi and an agency, which was, and back then really digital was not at its core. I mean, digital was not a popular industry, so to say. Thereafter is when I moved into different online businesses. And from there, what I've understood is, I mean, Himadri, you can just proceed. Yeah. So the popular belief now is that what many people believe that what role can a salesperson play in an online business? At the end of the day, an online business or a SaaS tool, it's effectively about creating the product, and then you put it out in the market and use tools such as Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing, and digital marketing to drive consumers to your platform, right? And they effectively pay online as well. So, there's a big question mark in terms of how can sales contribute to online businesses, right? And in my experience, coming from a sales background, I have realized, this is only the half truth, right? In terms of that businesses are built on Instagram, Facebook, and digital. The reality is almost all successful businesses online have been a result of pivots. So Instagram started as something else. Myntra started as something else. Flipkart was only doing books earlier. Effectively, all businesses then finally change till they find something which is called a product market fit, right? Now, how do you actually pivot and find a product market fit? That only happens when you listen to what the customer wants. And I think that's the primary value that a salesperson can bring to the organization. That once your product is out there in the market and it's not working, it's only the salesperson or somebody who's very close to the customer who can tell you, okay, boss, ye nahi chal raha hai. This is what customers actually want, right? And this is what we should be building. Most people ignore this and they decide to, build businesses on their whim, or you could say more on instinct. But I think a salesperson can bridge that gap wherein they can actually bring you real insights from the ground in terms of what is happening. Yeah. Madhuri, you can move on. Yeah, so I'll give you some examples of how I've seen this manifest, right? So when I started my online business, one of them was called Engrave. Okay. And what we used to do is we used to offer online personalized gifts wherein people would actually upload a product, upload their picture. We would engrave it on a piece of wood and send it out. It was very popular for birthdays and anniversaries. Now, in order to market the product, what we used to do is, apart from selling online and doing online advertising, we started participating in different flea markets. So there's a really popular flea market in Bombay that happens, which is called Kala Ghoda Arts Festival. So for the first couple of years, it's a 10-day event wherein you have lakhs of people coming in, and there are different people who set up stalls on the street. You would have seen it in different flea markets as well. So that's what we used to do. And that experience actually changed the way I did business, because over a period of 10 days, you end up meeting at least 7,000 to 8,000 different people, right? Who come to your stall and actually interact with you. And in the course of those 7,000 to 8,000 conversations that you have over 10 days, you actually understand in terms of that what do people want. So give you a simple example. Like I said, we were engraving pictures on a wooden plaque. So I had somebody coming from who used to work at the HR of a BPO. She came to me and actually said, can I have my employee's photo out here and just write employee of the year? Or could I have my employee's photo and say, okay, congratulations on completing 5 years, right? And I felt it was a great idea. Instead of just doing photos, we should use these as certificates or plaques inside any company, right? And that's how I ventured into the awards and trophies business. Naturally, what happens is, once you venture into that space, the company is going to come back to you after a year and say, abhi ek saal ye wala kar liya, abhi kuch naya award or trophy banate. And so that's how, we just decided to start a stream of awards and trophies business. I don't think that business would have started if I had not participated in an offline event and heard directly from a customer. The other thing is, at the same event, there were people who actually came and said कि ये आपका photo frame जैसा बना हुआ है, आप इसको एक लंबा कर दो, right? Instead of having like a 5 inches by 7 inches size, why don't you have a 9 inches by 3 inches size? And instead of a photograph, just have my name on it. And could you give me a nameplate? Again, that insight led to me starting a nameplate business on Engrave, which became really successful, and which is what led to the birth of Housenama eventually, right? So I think only by if I was not doing sales and I was not selling directly to the customer, I would not have divined these insights. So for any digital business, whether it's a software business or a B2C business or a B2B business, I think it's very important to listen to what customers have to say. And for that, flea markets and exhibitions are great for B2C companies. And I think for B2B organizations, you always have events that are happening around the year. You'll have marketing events that happen. You'll have technology events that happen. I think it's very important that if you're working at an organization, you push your management to actually participate in these offline events. They are a fantastic source of ideas. And I mean, all of you are in sales. I'm sure you understand that nothing works like speaking to a customer, right? Also, if you're in the sales business and in a digital business, I think the second most important thing is that you should spend some time in the support function of the company, right? Because these events that are going to happen are going to be kind of periodic events. It's going to happen once in a quarter or once in 6 months. But the support team actually speaks to the customer on a day-to-day basis, right? If the customer faces an issue in basically logging in, or the customer finds that, okay, has some questions related to the product, right? All of these will be known to the support function. So if you're not able to participate in the support function, it's important that you ask your support function to send you the transcripts, at least. And it's, in the initial period, it's very important for you to actually read these transcripts, see the problems that the customer face, and prepare for it. Because when you go and pitch to somebody, you would probably already know what questions are going to come to you, right? And the end result of doing this role in the support function is you will understand two things. Okay, one is if the customer has purchased from you, you need to understand why did they choose you versus the others, right? And the second thing is, if they are not choosing you, why did they not choose you, right? Now, in the case where physical meeting is not possible, the only way to discern this or actually identify this is, speaking to the customer over support. And when you understand these the answers to these two questions, you'll have enough insights and patterns. You'll be able to, when you listen to 100 people, you'll have insights and patterns that can actually shape the entire business, right? So apart from being a seller and a listener, I think a sales person can also be a great contributor to defining what the business should be, and basically laying out the contours of what it should look like. Okay. The last part of any sales stack, right? I think if you're participating in any digital businesses, I think email. So you have offline listening, you can participate in support function, but at the end of the day, you need to drive revenue to the business. And I think the starting point in any digital business to reach out to somebody is actually email. Yeah, Madhuri, you can just move on. Yeah. And it's important to understand the different tools of the trade when it comes to email. Like I told you, we had the Engrave Awards business, right? That business we moved to doing close to around 40 lakh rupees every month, purely on the base of email. So we were participating in events initially, but the entire business was driven by a single person just doing email every day in and day out. And that's when I realized that, yeah, I mean, for any organization, now every business that I do, I use email as a tool, very important tool for sales. So one is you have lead generation. So I think it's very important for people to learn and basically learn tools such as Clearbit and Sales Navigator, right? And what happens is the way to go about it is initially you will have a list of customers in the organization. It's very important to first map them, right? So what we did is we had customers who were buying from us, but we did not know exactly who was buying from us. So I created an Excel sheet, wrote down, just fill in all the emails of customers buying. Just take a sample size of say 100, 150 people, right? Put them in an Excel sheet. Fill in things like, okay, fine, they work at which organization? What is the size of the organization? What is the industry? What is the geography? And I mean, it's very easy for you to do an analysis of that and then identify who's the customer who's exactly buying from you, right? So in case of Engrave Awards, our awards and trophies, we realized that a lot of companies in the United States were actually ordering from us. And these were all organizations in the size who were under 50 people, and the other segment was people between 100 to 200. And if I dig deeper into it, that's when I understand that, okay, fine, somebody's buying awards and trophies online, right? Typically, they are making a purchase of 30,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees, $500 to $1,000. And I realized that, okay, fine, if the order volume was much larger, say, for example, you had to buy 1,000 trophies, nobody's going to do it online, right? Because there's going to be a central procurement, which is going to happen. There are going to be multiple stakeholders involved. But when you work in small teams of 50 or say 10 to 50, most people are empowered to take a decision, okay, go and make a purchase. So I think it's very important for you to identify who your ideal customer is. And once you've identified, that's when you start using these tools like Clearbit and Sales Navigator to create a list of leads who actually match that profile. Okay. The second part that we do usually is we set up email drip campaigns. Okay. And I would highly recommend a tool called Lemlist. Okay. Because what happens is when you start sending out, say 100 emails every day or 200 emails every day on an automated basis, your emails are going to be marked as spam, right? So that's where you have tools such as Lemlist, which actually solve for that problem. What it does is initially when you enter any organization, you activate Lemlist on your email, you connect it with Lemlist. What it starts doing is it starts sending out dummy emails to people, and those dummy emails are then responded to by them. This is completely automated. So your email ID is then identified as somebody which is high engagement and with sense. And then Lemlist tells you, okay, fine. Now we've done so many interactions and we keep interacting with people. You can send out 50 emails initially, right? And all of these land in customer inboxes. None of them go to the spam folder. None of them actually go into. So I use a tool called Lemlist to actually first warm up my email and then set up a drip campaign. By drip campaign, I mean, all of you know that, okay, fine, you send out really effective. Lemlist also allows you to do an A/B test kind of thing, wherein you set up different emails. It could be, with two follow-up emails, or it could be 3 follow-up emails, and give people reasons to actually make a purchase from you. And what we did with Engrave Awards is we set up a drip campaign of 100 people on a daily basis, right? And anybody who would interact with us, say today or tomorrow, actually then moved on to a separate list altogether, or to our newsletters. And anybody who had not interacted with us would continue to be on the Lemlist campaign. And over a period of time, we saw that close to around 25,000 people move from a Lemlist campaign to our newsletter campaign. So the reason people will interact with you, say, for example, they see that they like what you're offering, right? But I might not have a trophy requirement. I might not require that product at that point of time. Okay. So they're going to come back in the future and say, okay, fine, this is great. I'll get back to you at a future point in time. So that's when we move them to a newsletter campaign, wherein on the newsletter, what we would do is any new work that we did, any trophy that we did for a marquee client, say, for example, we got to work with on the Kabaddi World Cup. We would make sure that an emailer goes out saying that, okay, fine, we created the trophy for the Kabaddi World Cup, right? And this is how we went about that process. Or we would work extensively with IIM jobs, right? So we would put out a campaign saying that, okay, fine, in this week we worked with IIM. So we used to showcase all the work that we did through our newsletters. What it also does is, many times when you start showcasing clients for different use cases, many times it plants ideas in the customer's head, right? Saying that, acha, ye hum bhi kar sakte hain apne company ke liye. Oh, I never knew that this tool could be used for this particular purpose. So I think email is a great tool for you to be at the top of the customer's mind, especially in a digital world, right? Where you're not going to meet people. And the last thing that I would really recommend people to use, anybody working in an online business, is use LinkedIn very effectively. Okay. You have your profile and feed where you can build thought leadership. At the end of the day, it's a game of trust. Whenever you're working with an organization, people need to like you and they need to trust you to be able to buy from you, right? And any conversation that I have, say, for example, even in an interview, I just get few minutes to actually sell who I am and what I am, right? But people at the end of the day, they're going to Google for you and find your LinkedIn profile. They're going to read through 15, 20 things that you've posted, right? And start developing trust towards you, saying that, okay, fine, this guy actually talks a lot of sense, right? And he's somebody I should be doing business with. So it's very important for you to use your LinkedIn feed and profile effectively, if you want to build a successful sales career. Yeah. That's about it from my end. In terms of what I think is important in the digital world. If there are any questions that you have, let me know.
Yeah, Nimish, so we have a couple of questions on the chat box.
Okay.
So I would probably pick up the first question. Okay. So there's a question from Trupti. She's asking, how can one differentiate oneself or stop being mediocre in sales?
How can one differentiate oneself or stop being mediocre in sales life?
Yeah.
What do you mean by being mediocre?
So Trupti, what I'll do is I'll unmute you. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question directly to Nimish? You can unmute yourself, Trupti, and ask your question, please.
Yeah, hi Nimish, sir, Trupti this side. So you mentioned in one of your slides that differentiate or die in your ad campaign when you were working with the ad campaign agency. So being a salesperson, how can we differentiate ourselves and being the unique? Okay.
So I would first thing that I would say, whether it is sales or marketing or customer support or any role that you're doing, I think to stand out, firstly, don't limit yourself to only that role, right? So if you're a salesperson, it should not be that, okay, fine, मैं सिर्फ sales करूँगा, बाकी बाहर में. you have to take interest in the entire business. I'll just give you a small example. When I used to work at Pepsi, right? And I would go from shop to shop. We had this product called Aquafina, which is mineral water. And all shopkeepers used to tell me, yaar, isme kholte hai na, to nariyal pani ka smell aata hai. theek hai? And so that was a question that actually came to me. Now, Aquafina was being sold for years, right? And most salespeople were confronted with the sales question, but nobody cared to answer. And so I got the opportunity to go to the factory few months later, right? And the first thing that I had a list of questions कि यार ये हमारे क्राउन, हमारा जो पेप्सी का क्राउन है इसमें ये रस्ट क्यों लग जाता है और कोक वाले में क्यों नहीं लगता? हम कोई एक्वाफिना का बॉटल खोलता है, so why does it have this peculiar coconut water smell? And when I took back the answers from the factory to the sales, to the ground, and I explained it to everybody who was confronted with the same question, I was immediately, in the coming newsletter, they had this thing called Men in Blue, where outstanding salespeople were actually identified. Just for a simple task like this, I was put in that list, saying that, okay, fine, Nimish is an upcoming, one of the best salespeople in Bombay. So that only happened because I took interest beyond my sales role, right? It's important for you to take a holistic perspective and understand every part of the business. And once you do that, you will no longer be considered mediocre. Yeah? You'll be noticed in the organization.
So, Nimish, the second question that we have is from Lakshit. How a new startup can get target customers? Is digital good for a new startup?
I'll take the question in reverse. I think digital is great for any business. I don't think there is any business today that is non-digital, right? Whether it's a restaurant or a sandwich wala on the street, everybody's gone digital, right? Everybody has online payments. Everybody's offering home delivery through an app. So I think digital is a great place for any new business, because traditionally the model is that say for example you launch a toothpaste, right? Traditionally the model has always been आपने एक नया business चालू किया toothpaste बनाने का, ठीक है? आपके पास एक distributor होगा across the city. आप उसको product बेचोगे, वो जाके दुकान में बेचेगा, because you're never going to be able to, you won't start with a team of 100 people to actually go on the ground. So you'll have a sales channel, and to be able to reach different parts of the country, you'll have to have a sales channel. You'll have to have a distribution system across the country, which is not easy for a brand for anybody to do who's starting out, right? As a result, it used to take 15-20 years to build a business. आप पहले एक city में करोगे, then you will succeed out there, then you will open in another city. It'll take you 15-20 years to actually get your brand known. What digital has done is you're now able to reach people on day one, right, from customers, as a result of which the D2C space is booming. Most people have realized that, okay, fine, now the time taken to build a brand is not 20 years anymore. With digital, you can crash that timeline to 5 years. So we've seen so many companies being built which have hit 100 crore figure in a span of 5 years of starting. Yeah. The second part of it now, where you've asked, how can a new startup target customers? I think ऐसा तो नहीं है आपने प्रोडक्ट बनाया और फिर आप सोचते हो ये किसको बेचूंगा. I think it's very important that when you start a business, you think about that question first. In terms of, if I'm making a new product, what is different in my product, right? And whom is it targeting? So for example, today in one of the, we decided I have a brand called Hygiva, okay, which sells masks, okay, and we launched pretty late. I mean, when COVID started, there were like dozens of mask companies selling masks on Amazon. We launched probably 6 months after everybody else launched, and it still became a bestseller on Amazon, right? The reason was that I personally felt the need that, okay, fine, जो भी mask मिल रहे हैं, disposable mask मिल रहे हैं, वो white color में है या blue color में है, right? Today, if I'm going to office, I might want to match it with my clothes. So our only differentiator, right, for relevant, obviously we try to identify a great product, but our only differentiator was color. We used to make sure that in a pack of 50 that you actually buy, we had 10 white, 10 blue, 10 green, 10 yellow, 10 pink, right? And that was our only differentiator, and we launched in the market. So it's not like I launched the product and then I decided कि अभी इसके customers कैसे ढूंढूं. I first realized that there is a gap, right? This is how I can be different, and then you put yourself out in the market. So I think it's, so you solve that first before deciding to solve कि अब मैं customer कैसे ढूंढूं. Did I answer your question adequately? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Lakshit says yes. So we can take up the next question, Nimish.
Okay.
The next question is for Salendra, and he says, how I can start digital product business because it is a very profitable business. So you can see all those questions on the chart also for your consumption.
How can I start a digital product business because it is very profitable business? When you say a digital product business, I mean, you mean to say a software, or do you mean to say how do you start selling online? Can you unmute Shailendra? So
yeah, I'm doing that. Shailendra, you can go ahead and ask your question. Shailendra?
Okay, I think he means how do you sell a software business or a I think it starts with domain expertise. I mean, say, for example, you've spent years, say, for example, you work with a company that is giving out loans, right? And you identify that there is a particular process in your organization which could be digitized or which could be automated. And then you build a software around it. I don't think you can just turn up one day and decide to build a digital product business. I think it's very important that you understand your domain, see what problems can be tackled through a software or a digital solution, and then put it out in the market.
So Ishan has a question. Ishan is asking, what is the difference between digital marketing and online or digital sales?
I mean, it's this term is, I mean, whether you say digital marketing or online or digital sales, it's pretty much covers the same thing, right? There are different ways. Digital marketing here will typically be where will not include, I mean, what people will say is that you put your ads across different networks, whether it is through Google ads or ads on Instagram or Facebook. And a wider definition of it would be even, include email, but marketing would typically only include advertising. And the overall term for in terms of online digital sales would also include email. But yeah, it's pretty much the same thing otherwise.
Srinivas is asking you that what is the name of the software that you were using for bulk email that prevents spam?
So you use it's called Lemlist, Lemlist.
Hemant has a question, so I'm going to quickly unmute Hemant. Hemant, you can quickly go ahead and ask your question. Hemant, you there?
Yeah, hi, I'm there.
Yeah.
Hi, Nimish. My name is Hemant. I have a question. So I'm a real estate agent, and I do a digital marketing campaign, which cost me 2 to 3 lakh for 45 to 50 days campaign for one of the product or project, whatever, I want to do, or whichever project. But, there are a lot of, so with 99 acres and there are so many apps for that. And these guys are doing a lot of duplicacy in leads, basically, the same sort of leads are, circulating in the market and, all are approaching the same client at the same time.
Right.
So maybe if someone approaches faster would be, I guess more result oriented, but then still, it's not getting converted the way I want to, and I feel I'm wasting my money. So what is your take on that? What should I do? How do I, approach this customer, or is there any other way apart from digital campaign to approach real estate customers? Or
so one is, see, as long as you're going to rely on data being provided by any of these other platforms and you're fully dependent on them, I think you're going to face this problem. I mean, we would do it when I was a part of Bharat Matrimony, the same thing would happen. So say, for example, I get a lead for somebody interested in, I used to be a part of something called India Automobile earlier.
Yeah.
Wherein people would fill in that, okay, I want to buy a car, right? Now we would go and sell it to 10 different dealers in the city, right? So effectively, everybody's paying us at that point of time. It only used to be 100, 150 rupees per lead. But I know that I'm selling it to 10 different people and all of them have the same offering to the customer, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Same with loans, same with real estate leads. This is a problem you're always going to face. I think a great long-term investment would be to start getting leads directly, right? And I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done, but that is something that you have to work towards. I mean, you would have to build your own portal, so to say. You would have to list down all the properties that you build, that you're currently offering, and have a landing page wherein people can fill up a form and
Okay.
reach out to you. And also in terms of what makes you different, in terms of you'll physically escort all the people to all these real estate sites, you'll spend a day with them, etc. Ask people to book appointments for things like this, and then run a small campaign to get people to that page rather than spending all the money towards leads from these other websites.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
first, build a solid differentiator. Build a landing page with a form wherein people can book slots with you, or some platform through which they can reach out to you directly, and then run a campaign around it.
But I think the landing page which I will be creating, again, to market that page, I'll have to spend, I think, again, that will be routed through all this 99 acres or,
No, then you would
someone
do a
who can,
direct
promote
campaign.
this.
You would do a direct campaign on Facebook and Google.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Understood.
And you just need to identify that one small thing in terms of which can differentiate you from the others. Right.
Right.
It could be even an offering in terms of that, okay, fine, you spend a day with me, a car comes to pick you up, and over that day, we'll go and see 5 different properties or whatever it is, right? Some kind of differentiator and you get other customers to start rating you, right? And putting 5 stars out there. Okay, fine, I had a great experience, purchasing my real estate asset from Hemant, right?
Yeah.
And he offers a really good experience when it comes to buying real estate. I think it's very important to build that, and over a period of time, you'll start getting the cost of leads will really drop down.
Sure. I think makes sense.
Yeah.
So Nimish, we have another question from Mark. So Mark, I've unmuted yourself in case if you want to ask your question. Though he's put the question on the chat.
One more thing, just Hemant, just answering your question again, just some other ideas that pop in my mind is, I think you should also leverage video really well. Do reviews of different new projects that are actually coming up, and what you find great about them, what you don't find great about them. I think you can build a nice YouTube channel around it. Yeah, we can move on.
Yep. So Mark's question is, any tips or best practices for cold outreach in B2B SaaS sales?
Okay, so like I said, the most important thing is to identify. So again, I'll just think of it from a larger perspective. If you're leading sales in an organization like this, I don't know if you've read, there is a very popular book called Predictable Revenue, right? Which is written by Aaron Ross. He started out in Salesforce as an intern. Okay. He was the lowest paid sales executive in the organization. And he built a system. He basically, at that point of time, SaaS wasn't even popular. People were worried ki cloud mein mera data rahega. Is it safe? Right. And most people would have legacy software. So it was very difficult to uproot, and they had made capital investment in that. And this book, which is Predictable Revenue, lays out a great path in terms of how he actually cracked it in the SaaS space, right? How Salesforce cracked it and how they scaled it. I think you should read that book. Effectively, what it says is separate lead generation from sales quotas, right? So the same person is identifying leads, the same person is going and actually meeting and talking to clients. Separate out that function. So what he would do is he would leverage email only, right? He was only in charge of ensuring that every salesperson had enough meetings. The salesperson did not have to set up the meetings. He would set up meetings for every salesperson in the organization. And the way he would do it is like what I said. He would send out, identify the right candidates. For example, he would see that, okay, typically in any organization, people who make this decision of which software to use is the CTO, right? So he would see any CTO who just moves into an organization, who's new to an organization, they would be more open to or pliable to change, right? So he just decided to identify those kind of CTOs or chief information officers, chief technology officers, and he started sending out emails to them in terms of why their solution is much cheaper. And when the CTO would sell it internally in the company, he'll say, okay, I'll help you cut down your cost, right? So he would get meetings set up with CTOs across different organizations. He would follow them and just send out an email through email. I think a similar structure is, I think it's a best practice in terms of separating out. Just read the book for more details in terms of separating out the sales function from the lead generation function.
Yeah, so Nimish, next question that we have is from Ritesh. Ritesh says that I'm working in a company who's dealing in pathology chemicals. I am a field executive. How can I use digital platform?
I see, again, every domain will have their own nuances. But what I would say, for example, if you're a field executive, there is a particular locality probably that you must be catering to, right? So you could create an email list using, you have Google Business, you have Just Dial, and you have India Mart, whichever is the relevant platform which gives you all the information locally, and build an email list in terms of all your potential clients, right? So one is you could reach out to them on email. The second thing is customers who are already onboarded, right? You could set up a newsletter for them, like I said, and keep them updated in terms of what's new in your industry, right? And build a reputation for yourself as somebody who's trying to help them rather than somebody who's only trying to sell to them.
So guys, anybody has any other question for any other question that you guys have? You can raise your virtual hands. I'll unmute you.
Yeah, the book name is Predictable Revenue.
Can you type that on the chat box,
Yeah.
Nimish? So yeah, Hemant, I would unmute you. Why don't you go ahead and ask a question? Yeah, ask a question, Hemant.
Hi Nimish, I think this is my second question and a last question. So I am apart from real estate agent, which I'm doing side by side. I am working in a company which is Pune-based company, and I'm heading a Mumbai market for them. It's a real estate company which doesn't have any footprint in any other state apart from Pune. So selling there, and I'm just doing commercial sales for them, which is commercial towers, not residential. So selling those products basically out here in Mumbai is a challenge out here because it doesn't have any presence in Mumbai. And here in Mumbai, investors are having a lot of options, in terms of investing in Mumbai market itself. Why they will go to Pune? The first question comes. So how do I differentiate? What do I do and have a presence here in Mumbai market? Because it's getting a little bit challenge, in terms of convincing investors that, you invest here in Pune. Because they are having multiple better options, I guess, in Mumbai, which can fetch them better returns.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I wasn't, I can tell you what I would do in your position. One is, if there are customers who have previously, Mumbai customers who have made purchases in Pune, right? I would first talk to them and understand, why did you make a purchase in Pune when you have better options in Bombay? Able to understand why a particular customer has made that purchase decision, right? You will have enough reasons to you'll use that same thing as a pitch to other Mumbai customers, right? That XYZ, I mean, it makes great sense to purchase in Pune because of these 1 to 3 reasons. And if those reasons are valid, you will get customers making purchases. And if those reasons are not valid, then I would probably stop that offering.
Right.
Because there should be a solid reason. At the end of the day, you're not going to you're going to sell a product for a reason, right? I mean, it just can't be selling for the sake of selling.
Agreed. But I think it's getting difficult, and I spoke to many people, and they are saying, I mean, this is a wrong profile. Uh,
Hmm.
and I mean, this kind of thing will not go for a longer time, and probably you should look for a change.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in your position and I was not able to identify the differentiator or reason for people to actually make that purchase or to sell what I'm to purchase what I'm selling, I would
Yeah,
report it to the higher management saying that this is not working out, right? Your offering is not strong enough. There is something that we need to give, which makes customers notice us. Uh, but yeah, just dragging along and trying to sell the same thing doesn't make sense.
sure.
Nimish, Ishan has a question. So Ishan, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, please?
Thank you for this opportunity. So my background is recently I've done my MBA, having 6 years in IT. So my recent job role is assistant manager in marketing and sales, right? So
Mm.
basically, the in Absolute Barbecue is a food, that food industry. So the problem is like, I need to improve the rating of that particular restaurant or why it's not doing well in that particular outlet. Though my thing is like marketing and sales. So how online, online sales could help me out in this? Like what's the approach should be? Because I have no background and what should be my right approach?
I could you just repeat that question?
Yeah, the question is like, why I was hired was because I need to handle the marketing and sales, right? So marketing, I understand what's the strategy, how I can improve the,
This is a food business.
reviews.
This is a food
Yes,
business.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Absolute Barbecue.
Okay. It's a restaurant.
Restaurant, yeah. So yes, yes, it's a
Okay.
restaurant. So they have
Hmm.
the reviews ratings in Zomato's, right? So I need to improve their particular outlet reviews or bring more footfalls. So
Hmm.
marketing, I can understand, I can do the strategy and all, but in terms of sales, they give me the position of sales also,
Hmm.
So in terms of sales, there is like a retail sales, right? Because I need to be in a particular restaurant.
Hmm.
How this go about the sales approach, because I can't go to door and door because the restaurant is in a particular outlet. So how sales in what per se, how I can approach, whether it should be like online or how, because if I say online sales, right, there's a
Hmm.
digital marketing coming out, but my role is not a digital marketer.
Hmm.
So maybe like talking to customers or what you have done in that case.
So I mean, again, as a consumer, what I typically do is if I'm in a place and I want to search for restaurants, I use my mobile to actually search for restaurants.
True.
Otherwise, I'm typically using Swiggy, right? So one is the Swiggy channel is obviously there, but what I would focus on is ensuring my own direct presence on Google. So when people are searching for, say, Chinese restaurant or barbecue food or whatever may be the keywords, that I'm actually noticed out there. And when they actually see the profile, you want to make sure what they read about you or what they see about you is actually positive, right? Uh, so I would focus primarily on Google. Google has this thing called Google Local. I would ensure that I get more and more reviews on Google Local, right?
Okay.
You have, if it's a captive restaurant where people are actually walking in, you have a great opportunity, like you said, to speak to customers directly and see people who have positive experiences. Say, for example, I like this particular dish. What I like about this restaurant is the service is just 5 minutes. So whatever be your strong points, right? Make sure, and you could just ask them that, could you put this out as a Google review? We'll offer you a 10% on your next visit, or we'll offer you a free dish. And make sure that your Google reviews on Google Local are like sky high. I think that will automatically drive footfalls. Even in online sales, I think it's entirely built on reviews. So that is one area that I would surely focus on. Even uh, it could also be, I've seen, so again, I'm not somebody from the restaurant business, but there's a coffee shop near my house. Uh, like Starbucks has this loyalty card, right? So this restaurant probably did not have the money to launch a loyalty program. So what they would do is they had this special ticket, and every time I would go, they would just punch this ticket, right? And make sure that there was certain, on the third punch or on number 3 would be like a free meal. So when they would punch it on the third one, I would tell them, okay, a third punch ho raha hai. So they would offer me a meal every time I would go there. So you could use some, at the end of the day, you need to draw in more customers, or you need to make sure the same customers are coming again, and the frequency is higher, or the same customer is buying more food from you in every individual purchase, right? So just look at these three aspects in terms of, ठीक है, ये review से ये बढ़ाता हूँ, ऐसे loyalty program से ऐसा, ensuring the lifetime value of a particular customer. So that's what I would do.
एंड आपने अभी बोला था कि रियल एस्टेट के लिए खुद का लीड जनरेशन करना. So can I also, because marketing campaigns, if I run in AB, Absolute Barbecue, I cannot reach the main marketing team, right? Maybe. So how is it possible, or is it good idea to suggest me myself run a marketing campaign in my channel or some my social media like Facebook to generate leads so that I can promote AB?
Yeah, so locally, I think one is, I don't know in which city are you based in?
Bangalore.
Okay, at least
Koramangala,
in Bombay, I've seen what happens is typically when
Bangalore.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
giving you an example. I don't know about Bangalore right now, but in Bombay, when any particular restaurant starts in my locality, right, the cheapest way to reach out for people is actually you have this newspaper के साथ अपने local newspaper agent को साथ में वो डाल दिया, right? That's how people are typically made aware. And I have also seen government team, and I don't think, I think at least for all of these purchases, I'm not too sure if the CEOs themselves will directly intervene, but you'll have to go through a lot of bureaucracy, which is in the procurement team. They will have a vendor empanelment process, अपने previous business किया है कि नहीं, and also they will tend to favor a few of their existing parties always, right? So I personally think trying to reach out to leading brands might not be a great idea, right? Because they are it's going to be very difficult to get through. There are a lot of kickbacks in the system. There are bureaucracy में बहुत सारे वो होते हैं. They might ask you for SEDEX certification, XYZ certification. So I don't know if there are smaller brands that exist, mid-sized brands which do not have this kind of bureaucracy. I would first look to reach out to them. It could be new D2C startups. It could be smaller organizations which don't necessarily have sort of bureaucracy. I would reach out to them first.
Okay, sir, आप आवाज आ रही है? हेलो,
आवाज क्लियर नहीं आ रही.
अब आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ.
यस सर, एक्चुअली जो है जो मैंने यार फूड ग्रेड जो है जार मैन्युफैक्चरर, एंड जो हमारी क्वालिटी है उसके अकॉर्डिंग हमें जो है ना बड़े ब्रांड्स चाहिए, क्योंकि छोटे ब्रांड्स में वो क्वालिटी, मतलब वो उस क्वालिटी के लिए उतना पे नहीं कर पाते. तो मेन प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वो है क्वालिटी, और जो है ना उसके ऊपर फिर मार्जिन. यस.
सो आप ये बोल रहे हो कि बेसिकली छोटे ब्रांड से इतनी क्वांटिटी नहीं आएगी?
क्वांटिटी नहीं, मतलब वो क्वालिटी, वो प्राइस नहीं मिलेगा हम लोग को, जो ना वैल्यू ऑफ मनी नहीं मिलेगी जो क्वालिटी हम डिलीवर कर रहे हैं. एक्चुअली वी आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, जो हमारे जार की क्वालिटी है वो, मतलब जो यूएसए में जो जार बनते हैं बहुत से लोग जो वहां से यहाँ पे मंगवाते हैं, तो उनके लेवल की है.
एटलीस्ट मेरा अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऐसे है कि जो बड़े ब्रांड्स है दे विल स्क्वीज यू ऑन प्राइस, राइट? दे विल हैव मल्टीपल ऑप्शंस. वो हमेशा क्या करेंगे, लो कॉस्ट वेंडर के पास जाएंगे. तो सबसे कम पैसा तो मेरे ख्याल से बड़े कंपनी देती है. आपको ये ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि कौन सी छोटी कंपनी है, क्वालिटी फोकस्ड कंपनी कौन सी है, ठीक है, जहां पे बजट इज नेवर अ कंस्ट्रेंट, राइट? और जो अप्रिशिएट करेगा आप जो वैल्यू दे रहे हो या जो क्वालिटी दे रहे हो उसको अप्रिशिएट करे. दिस इज नॉट नेसेसरली, आई वुड नॉट से this is a feature of large companies. You will have to identify those specific brands, even smaller brands.
ओके, ठीक है, मतलब लाइक जैसे जो ऑनलाइन अपनी प्रेजेंस जिनकी अच्छी है, जो ऑनलाइन अपने आप को ज्यादा रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, आई थिंक मुझे वो उन लोगों को टारगेट करना चाहिए सर।
हाँ, और
क्योंकि
आप टारगेट बाकी आप ये देख लो, अभी आपको पता ही होगा, इंडिया मार्ट के थ्रू ये सारी लीड्स मिलती है। उसमें सबसे पहले जहाँ पे नॉलेज ऑलरेडी डिस्कवर्ड है कि कौन कौन मैन्युफैक्चरर है, पीपल विल नॉट कम टू इंडिया मार्ट, बट यू कैन रजिस्टर ऑन इंडिया मार्ट, take a leads package out there. They have a leads package where every day you can reach out, you can purchase 20 leads. तो ये होता है कि इंडिया मार्ट में किसी ने डाला कि मुझे प्लास्टिक जार चाहिए, तो आप उनको रीच आउट करो and see what the response is. I personally find it very difficult to, I have used India Mart before. बहुत difficult है उसके थ्रू बेचना, लेकिन
इंडिया मार्ट की बेसिक प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वहाँ पे जो है ना प्लास्टिक मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के लिए ऑप्शन नहीं है। मतलब आप एचडीपी मैन्युफैक्चरर हो तो फिर एचडीपी में आपको आपको जो है छोटे डिब्बे की भी लीड आ रही है, बड़े जो है ना टंकी की भी लीड आ रही है एचडीपी में। तो वो स्पेसिफिकेशन जो है ना, हमारी इंडस्ट्री फार्मा के अंदर भी थोड़ा नीचे है, हम न्यूट्रास्यूटिकल के लिए मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं।
हाँ,
तो अब उसमें फार्मास्यूटिकल की लीड आ जाए वो भी चलता है, लेकिन वहाँ फार्मास्यूटिकल के लिए भी कोई कैटेगरी नहीं है। क्या मैंने उनको कई बार बोला है, आपको अपना स्टोर को अच्छा बनाना चाहिए, क्योंकि एचडीपी एक बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्री है। एचडीपी में जो है ना आपका जो है पैकेजिंग भी आता है, मैं जो है हम डेली यूज के लिए जो टिफिन भी यूज करते हैं वो भी आता है। तो आपको ये इसको डिफरेंशिएट करना चाहिए, बट वे लोग नहीं करते हैं।
I think at least even pharma industry is the biggest in the corporate gifting segment, and my experience has been it's the worst industry to be in. ठीक है, उसमें सारे procurement, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of procurement people, they expect something in return, right? और जो already established relationship है वो उनको तो है ही, उसमें से उनको मिल ही रहा है, तो आपको break in करना will be very very difficult. I think आपको at least big pharma, I don't know where the intersection will happen. You'll have to look for mid-sized or medium-sized firms which focus on quality, right? Instead of I think उसमें क्या market है वो आपको देखना पड़ेगा, but big companies के साथ काम करना difficult है।
सर मैं बड़ी कंपनी के साथ काम इजीली कर लेता हूँ, दूसरे वेंडर तोड़ देता हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे पता है सामने वाला किसी चीज के लिए बैठा है तो उसको इजीली अप्रोच कर लेता हूँ, इजीली कनेक्ट हो जाता है। बड़ी कंपनी में पेमेंट की प्रॉब्लम नहीं रहती, मिड कंपनीज या छोटी कंपनी है इनमें पेमेंट का बहुत बच्चा है।
Yeah, these are challenges. Yeah, even we face them, even with awards, trophies देने में भी हम लोग face करते हैं। But yeah, I mean, there are still a lot of mid-sized companies which care for their reputation, right? You'll have to find that वो sweet spot ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि ऐसी कौन सी कुछ companies है जहाँ पे पहले मुझे एक break मिल जाए।
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So Nimish, we have a question from Akshay. Akshay is asking, in fact, how do product for order and attraction for product interest for customers? So Akshay, मैं आपको unmute करता हूँ, आप अपना question पूछिए, please. Yeah, what is your question, Akshay? Please ask. Akshay, are you there?
Is the question कि ये ऐसा प्रोडक्ट कैसे बनाए जो जिसमें कस्टमर को जो which customers find attractive? Is that?
So let's wait for him to type on the chat. He says there's a network issue at this point.
Okay.
Anybody else has any other question till then can definitely ask, raise their hands, or you can put it on the chat box too. So Ishan has a question. Let me unmute Ishan.
Sure.
Ishan,
Thank you,
please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So down the line, after 3 years, my ultimate goal is to become a product manager. So this question is for you, sir, Nimish, sir, that how important is to become a salesperson when your ultimate goal is to become a product manager? What sales roles play? Because
Okay,
मेरे
so
पास अभी marketing वाला executive offer भी है, Paytm से की account manager का भी offer है. So I'm confused which one to take right now.
अच्छा, so again, traditional industry में जैसे जो product manager होता है, like for example, if in Pepsi is somebody who's managing that brand, right, or who has responsibility for, say, cola, there'll be some product manager who will have responsibility for colored drinks. There'll be some person who will have responsibility for a particular product, right? Noodles koi sambhal raha hai. So that is a product manager. And in the tech industry, a product manager is somebody who's working with technology team, marketing team, etc. So which product manager are you referring to? Acha, non-tech. Okay. So non-tech in a traditional industry, I'm sure once you join in a sales role, that there is a ladder which will take you to product management. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, at least all the companies that I have seen, whether it is Pepsi, Hindustan Lever, they do have a fast track for some people who come from certain B schools, right, towards product management. But you will get a shot at it for sure. If you're able to prove yourself, I think sales is a good place to start in any of these companies.
So what about tech also? Because I have a background in IT for 6 years, being a tech IT. So uske liye tech ki is the ideal one.
I think tech ke liye I don't think. See, again, product manager in a tech company and a non-tech company is completely different definition, right? A product manager in a non-tech company will have more to do with UI, right? हमारा product कैसा दिखना चाहिए, क्या features होने चाहिए, how do you work with the infrastructure team and the front-end team, back-end team to make sure everything falls in place. You try to understand consumer behavior and actually make changes. So that is a very different role. And I mean, the best way to learn about it is basically you'll have to spend a lot of time learning about UI, UX. Then if it's a particular software, you should probably be spending a lot of time listening to customers, right? In terms of how they're using features. Probably there are softwares which allow you to capture a particular session. This particular user came to my website. So you can every day go through 5 or 6 different user sessions wherein this user came, he clicked on this website, this button, he logged out. So you kind of understand when you see a particular session and the user doesn't know that they're being tracked, they're operating neutrally. You'll also understand how exactly are they using the tech product and kahan problem aa rahi hai. I think that is where I would spend a lot of my time.
Yeah, Akshay, why don't you go ahead and ask your question? Akshay? अक्षय आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Okay, I'll try and answer his question based on what I have understood.
Sure.
Okay. So I think it's very important. एक तो ये नहीं है हर product हर एक customer के लिए अच्छा नहीं होता. ठीक है. Somebody who is expecting कि मुझे something which looks really good. Some people may view aesthetics as very important. Some people may use life of the product as very important. So it's very important to understand for everybody, it's not like a good looking product that will always be the best product for them. So it's very important to understand who's your customer and what are you catering to. ठीक है, एक बार आपको समझ में आ गया कि मेरे प्रोडक्ट का ये स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट है या फिर मैं ये स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट ऑफर कर सकता हूँ, and you will have to chase that customer which values that instead of trying to poach customers from a company which is jiska proposition or whose value proposition is something else.
Great, Nimish. Thank you so much. I think we had a great session in terms of getting into the market insights, different industries, different people had different questions to understand what actually happens in the practical space. So thank you so much, Nimish. It was a fantastic session. We really loved the engagement and the way you addressed all our questions and queries. And thank you, the audience, for being really interactive today, asking those questions that bother you in the fields, or rather on the field, sorry. So let's connect next Saturday, same time. And thank you so much, Nimish, for addressing all these queries for us.
Thanks for having me, Himadri. And yeah, I had a great time listening to everybody here.
Thank you so much, guys. So let's connect next Saturday, same time, with another new topic. Till then, take care. See you. Bye.